Donc, bonjour tout le monde et merci. Aujourd'hui, on va vous présenter notre projet. On est l'équipe 1. Mon nom est Iman.
Sarush.
And Nazami.
Fariba. Marie.
And we'll be presenting our project for developing a community solution to stop food waste and food insecurity. So it is called Net Food. And so we do have an AI generated image here. And it's actually to talk about a subject that we want to solve through this. And that is the paradox of plenty. So we'll talk about it a little bit in the future. We'd like to use technologies to solve this. So just to talk about what we'll be discussing today. So objectives and target audience, a creative strategy, execution and actions, evaluation and impacts, and finally, the resources we will be using. So I'll leave it to Suresh.
Okay, so first, we want to know what you think about food waste. So if you all scan this for
So we'll just go into because in the other.
yeah,
So we'll just present it here. Should be possible.
so you can all scan this barcode or use the URL up top and the code to join this.
So we'll play with you, but don't worry, we're not gonna put the expensive.
It's, so first, what do you think about food waste? Where do you think it occurs? Okay, we're getting some answers. Household, home, grocery store, yeah, is it coming? Everywhere. That's an answer. People,
Everyone? Everyone and everyone?
household, hostels.
Oh. All the food stage.
So a lot of things related to household, so we have houses, home, at home, restaurants, yeah. Okay, that's very good.
Turns out.
So now I want you all to think how much food is wasted at each of these stages. So you can assign a percentage to each one of these categories. Let's see what you all think.
Transportation.
Okay, transportation is getting a lot of blame. Oh,
Household distribution.
yeah,
Processing and production. Seems like processing is still on the list.
Yeah, okay. grocery store, yeah, transportation, yeah, household or here, so actually, it's pretty close, so households contribute 28%, grocery stores 22%, transportation 21%, production 14%, and the remaining 10% is due to processing. So yeah.
Everybody's really close.
Yeah, that's very close. I didn't anticipate that. Yeah. Okay. So at the same time that you have a lot of food waste, a lot of people are also suffering from food insecurity. So how many millions of people do you think suffer from hunger globally? So yeah.
Oh, wow.
We
Someone
have-
put zero?
That might have been a mistake, or maybe is there just people? Yeah, a lot of different answers, so. Yeah, pretty much all over the range.
1,000 is really high.
Yeah. So the correct answer is about 740, so that's a lot, 740 million people. So let's go to the next question. And what percentage of food do you think is wasted here in Canada? That's about 50%, some okay. Yeah, some people think it's very little, some people think it's around 50%. Let's see. Okay. Some people think it's more than 50%. Okay, that's pretty good. It's actually 60%. Yeah, yeah.
You guys got it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually crazy. Just think about it. More than half of food in Canada goes to waste. And lastly, what percentage of the average Montrealer carbon footprint do you think comes from food waste? Okay, so everyone thinks it's a good chunk. Yes, someone thinks it's around 80%. So, yeah, a lot of people think maybe around 40% or something like that. So it's actually not as bad as some of you thought, it's 15%, so the percentage wise, it's not a lot, but when you like consider the population of Montreal, that's still a lot of carbon. So yeah, let's go back to the spot. So yeah, as have you learned from these questions, food waste is a massive global and local issue. Vast amounts of perfectly good food goes to waste across the food supply chain at all stages. In Quebec alone, nearly 870 million people rely on food banks. And so all of this represents a significant economic, environmental, and social challenge that we're going to talk about how we can make an impact. So
Okay, I'm going to talk about our objectives and the target audience for our network. Gleaning and dumpster diving, they are laudable, but they are not sustainable. For example, gleaning is helpful itself, but it's limited but individual effort and access, for example, to the farms. And also dumpster diving raises concerns about food safety or food hygiene. So both these methods are not sufficient to tackle widespread food waste or food insecurity. And food availability through this method is unpredictable and inconsistent. So our objective is trying to lower food waste from household and business surplus in a connected and communal way to reduce gleaning and dumpster diving. Also, is reducing food insecurity through community efforts. Our target audience are food businesses, volunteers, households, and beneficiaries.
Perfect, thank you, Nazarene. So now we'll talk about our creative strategy. So our creative strategy is called NetFood, and it's a community food solidarity network. And what we want to do is to systemically reduce and also redistribute or have surplus food to make sure that there's a safe and dignified access. Because a lot of people don't know that other people around them have surplus food. So it's not just the restaurants, but also it's everyone around us. So we have also wanted to create a community to have good practices, events, etc. So this creates something of a communication and also communal way of creating events, sharing recipes, etc. So how does NetFood work? The first step is to put your location. So here I put Montreal, Côte-des-Neiges, but you could change depending on where you live in Montreal. And so this is very similar to, I guess you could think, Uber, because you're Ubering between people around you, but you're also creating communal groups and spaces where you can share if you have foods in certain locations, but you can also share what you have in your own fridge. And then it can also tell you, for example, I have biryani, I have pizza in my fridge, I have etc. And so I would like to see if there's a way for me to, use this in another way. Let's say you can cut your pizza pieces into another meal. So it would pop up, for example, recipes for that. And then afterwards, let's say you're really into Indian food. I'm so into Indian food, I love it. And I would like to know if other people around me like Indian food, would like to create recipes together. Because one thing I also struggle with is cooking. So I struggle with it daily just because I'm not sure what I want to do, if I can use the food in my pantry. And so you can join communal groups, and then in the communal groups, people would speak with each other and be able to create events. You can also donate to your cause, of course. because we need help as well. So this is actually one part of the application. There's also the second part, which is more in contact with the restaurants and the business owners. For example, we can collaborate with grocery stores, etc., to have discount offers provided only on the application. So this pushes people to use our application, even if, let's say, they say, oh, I know how to cook, etc., etc., I don't need the community. Well, maybe it's a good place to ask for if the restaurants around you have certain discounts, or if restaurants around you also have surplus foods they would like to share. And so there's also a place for the communal fridges near you. For example, discover our groups. And also, one of the things that we want to do is to make it seasonal. So if there's Valentine's Day, for example, or any other event, there could be seasonal special, let's say, recipes, menus, etc. people can try. And this creates a way for people to interact with each other on the same application. So another aspect of this is, for example, chat-based features. Whether it's through the forum or on a one-on-one, you can share if you're doing a potluck with surplus food. If you want to resemble people, this all happens in the same network. So there are a lot of actually places in Montreal where you can send food in, so communal fridges, etc. But many people don't know where they are, and when they research for it, it's very segmented. And so we want to make sure that it's all connected in one place, so to create that network, which is why we also called it net food. And one good thing to push people to also share food to the community fridges would be that in the same way that you can find the fridges, you can also share images of the good that you've done around you to push people as well, and also to share your stories with other people. So we want to also collaborate with existing applications. For example, FoodKeep. FoodKeep is an application that scans the fridge and tells you what food is perishable or not. So since this already exists, we thought we could add it into our application to then give you advice on what to do with the perishable food. And this could create also people, because not a lot of people know that FoodKeep exists. Why would you download FoodKeep if you don't know that it exists? So it also creates a lot of shared knowledge. Finally, you can become volunteer. So of our application, it's a very much, application for people by people. So when you become volunteer, you also get to share the news. And there's a few other features that we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, our main ideas here is to create that collaboration network between food banks, restaurants, but also individuals in their households into one application. So for technological integration, we've talked about mobile app and platforms, but we would also like to collaborate as well with restaurants, etc., for inventory management systems, such that we could tell people on the application if there's a food bank or fridge that has a need of certain items or not. And finally, of course, the communication tools that we've discussed about the forum, but also the chat into the application. So why is it creative? The first thing is because there doesn't have an application here where you can have all of that in a single place. So it creates a network for people to come together. So that's one of the main attraction, I think, of our application. The groups of interests are also very interesting because people can discuss things that they like. For example, if you're vegetarian, if you're pescatarian, if you eat halal, it's very difficult sometimes to just be like, where do I go? Do I go on Facebook? Facebook is so big and decentralized. I would rather have a place that is a bit smaller. And so that's one of the also creative part of it. And I'll leave it to Nancy.
Actually, for execution and action, the first thing would be volunteers, that they can just sign up to help collection of all of these foods and actually sorting, distribution, and all of these steps. Another one would be donation. Actually, to support this network, we all know that we need money for that. I mean, financially support, or let's say through in-kind contribution. And another thing would be collaborative partnership in order to improve the impact of this system or partnership with organization. I mean, this partnership can be amplified, but collaboration with organization, influencer, stakeholders, etc. In order to engaging social media, these days, thanks to technology, we can just spread our networks and etc. by using and getting help from technology, by making hashtags, making poll, etc. And in order to spread our words or meaning in all of the world, we can running some campaigns that can really help us to aware other people about our network, about food waste, etc. Another thing would be monitoring and adaptation. Actually, how we know that this system work well, I mean, this spreading this campaign, etc. One of them would be some people or some campaigns that can just monitor all of these performances, gathering feedbacks and adapt in real time to enhance this effectiveness. In order to talking about the operational flow of this network, the first thing would be identified. Food businesses and households can identify surplus foods and also create recipes that you can share with, let's say share it in this net food. Another thing would be contacts that household and businesses can actually use the net food platform to be in contact. The third one would be collection, actually collection from households or businesses in order to deliver foods or local hubs by using, for example, volunteer can be possible. Another thing would be sharing. Food can be sorted or inspected and sorted at these hubs that we mentioned before. And last but not least is distribution. Actually, food is distributed to individuals or the people who are in need for food or for food, and actually it can be a community which is created as well.
So now we're gonna evaluate our net food and also see what impact it can do. And as you can see here in this picture, is this food dumpster diving or cleaning is not really a good method of searching for food. It can be risky, so our method is safer and also more reliable, because in food dive, like dumpster diving, you don't really know what you can find in that dumpster. And it is also more dignified because people that are in need can really have a real bit of support for our network instead of going for stigmatizing practices. And also it is in a greater scale and also have more impact because we are centralizing all the efforts, and it can have a greater impact than the individual in themselves going for their own solutions. And we are also responsible for food handling, so we talk about collaboration. And we can also collaborate with the local authorities to promote responsible food handling and discourage unsafe practices. And we want, by this net food, build a long-term solution by recruiting volunteers and also trying to retain them with us and develop strategies to really attract them and make them work more for the cause. And also we want to diversify our funding sources to be more financially stable. And also we collect data and we evaluate where our state are, so that we can have the view of our impact and also the area where we need to improve. We also want to advocate for policies that really support food waste and also food security at the municipal or even the provincial levels. So we have example of maybe tips and tricks for throwing away less and eating better. We also want to, for the educational point of view of our net food, also have like some child's play, some game for even child to also be aware, like the awareness of food waste in the early ages.
So in order to make net food public, such a brilliant and social initiative, we need some specific resources. By resources, we mean funding, partnership, and the commitment of each stakeholder. So we plan to launch a pilot project in a specific neighborhood for example, in Montreal, where we can have where our targets, we will fund our targets. whoever said implementing an initiative or launch an initiative, talk about funding and partnership. So for funding, since of course, our purpose is very social and not to make profit, we planning to explore some grants, some donation, and potential government support. And by potential government support, government will be our potential first partner. And we also plan to collaborate with some existing food banks, some community organization, local business, and city government, mayor and local government. We need as well community engagement to conduct some awareness campaign to involve residents with integrate guides. So for stakeholders, our volunteer are committed to engage community members in all aspects of the network. So the specific role is to collect the foods, sort them, packaging, distribute, administrate, and educate people. We are also plan to teach them some comprehensive training of some healthy habits, and what regard to the target that are the beneficiaries, distribution, they will collect the food through some our model, like we say, so from food distribution through various model, and that's such as fridge, community fridge, and all of that stuff. So they need actually to really understand the specific dietary needs and preferences, such as if, for example, there are some are vegetarian, and some like meat, but we know where to go and which kind of food to collect. They also need some community support. For the food businesses, the aim is to establish clear guidelines and incentivize for donating surplus food. We are going to standardize donation procedures and liability protection. About community and food herbs, we are going to make public some collection points where people can go to collect the food and all of that stuff, and for sorting and inspection for healthy food eating, and storage facility appropriate for our food to not make them polish, and so on and so forth. So
Perfect. Thank you so much for listening, and make sure that as well as you want to be carbon neutral, make sure you're also food neutral with net food. Thank you.